So PGA Tour 2K21 is just about a day old now, officially released for everybody. So I'm sure the majority of you watching this now have played at least a couple of hours on the game. But obviously I was one of the lucky people in the handful group that managed to get early access to the game, and just again thanks to 2K for that. So I've had personally myself about, what do we know? It's Saturday. So Thursday, about 9 days. About 9 days of play, and I've been playing for anywhere between 6 and 8 hours each night. Probably the minimum, maybe 4 or 5 or something like that. But what I want to do today is, because what I've been seeing since the game is officially released is a lot of people are having trouble with putting. So I've seen it in both Facebook posts and comments, video comments as well, a little bit on Twitter, and a few people have messaged me as well, just saying that they're having trouble with the putting. So what I want to do in this video is I want to talk about and demonstrate the two methods that I use personally myself for putting. These are pretty much the same as what I did in TGC 2019. I no longer use, at the moment anyway, until we figure out what way it can be done, if it can still be done. I no longer use giving the grid lines a number, counting the grid lines and using that, because obviously we cannot adjust the aim now with the D-pad, we have to use the sticks. Excuse me. So that's what we're going to cover first, and then we're going to cover getting the weight right on your putts. For the purposes of this video, I have turned on the putt preview just so I can hopefully better show you visually what I mean by what I'm doing with the putting methods. So the first one we're going to do is one that I've used since TGC 1, and that is, if we come down into the worm cam by pressing triangle or Y on an Xbox controller. I'm not sure about keyboard and mouse, I have literally no idea on the key bindings for that. But all I do is, now for this actually as well, I will show you real quick, when you have the aids on, you need to have approach and putting cameras turned off. If you have that turned on, you will not be able to move around, so you do need to have that off in order to be able to then use the opposite. I don't know about if you're playing left-handed, but for me anyway, use the right stick in order to be able to move the camera back and forward or side to side, adjust the aim and so on while down here. So we'll just reset that. So the first method, what I do, as I say, I've been using it since TGC 1, is coming down into the worm cam and just simply looking at the angle of the lines, watching the beads. I just slowly move the camera forward and I just trace out a little line of the path I think the ball is going to take. Now what you'll regularly hear me saying in videos is it looks like it's about a half out, 1 out, 1.5 out, so on and so forth. So what I mean by that, for those of you who've never seen any of the tips videos that I've done before, is when I say it looks like it's going to break about 1 out, if this being a left to right putt, if it looks like it's a 1, it's the first grid line to the left of the hole, and vice versa if it's a right to left break. So that would be a 1. If it was to be half out, I'd say halfway between that and the first line. If it was 1.5, halfway between the first and second lines, and so on and so forth. So I'll just reset that again. So what I did there, when tracing it forward, when just slowly moving the camera forward, I was just watching those grid lines, watching the beads, and just tracing out in my head the path I think the ball is going to take. And to me it looks like if I was to take my shot now without adjusting, just aiming straight at the pin, it looks like it'll break to roughly in and around about here, in and around about there where the marker is. So maybe get about here or so by the time it reaches the hole. So we'll just reset that again, and now without adjusting it, I'm going to use the putt preview and we'll see if we got it to there, because that would mean I'll need to aim out to about here to counter the break. So let's do the putt preview. And that looked pretty good. Grid should come back on. So yeah, that was pretty accurate. So now if I aim out pretty much the same distance, because obviously I don't use the putt preview myself, so if I aim out to about here, where would be the opposite, we'll do it again. A little bit more out, just a little bit. So I wasn't too far off. And don't worry, I mean, we're all human. Humans make mistakes. It's the way we are. You're not going to drain every putt. We'll just move that out a little bit more, and all right, we'll just about catch the right edge there. So it's just a little bit off. Hold on, I moved the marker there actually a bit further out. And there we go. So, I mean, you get the idea of what I mean by just tracing out that line. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but bear with me. Just take a sip of my tea before it goes cold. So now what we'll do, we'll just take a quick shot. I do have a mulligans on, so let's take a quick shot. But by the looks of it, the ball is sunken into the ground apparently. Not too bad. I pushed that actually a little bit, just looking at the swing line. I did push that one. Okay, so that's what I do. As I say, it's just simply down into the worm cam. We'll just reset that again, and it's just move slowly forward, and do it. Feel free to do it as many times as you want, and just moving forward and just tracing that line out in your head. If you use the putt preview yourself, you'll be able to see it. Another thing that I do as well is the second I get on the green, I don't adjust the putting marker that's on the screen, so the white triangle where it says 14 feet up 1 inch. I don't move that. I keep that where it is, and it also helps as well with having the distance and the elevation there, because if you're moving across and you slightly angle, oh, I've moved the marker. Oh, where was it? I know I was on 14 feet, so I'll just pull it back a little bit. So I'll always make a note of the distance that's beside the marker when I first address the ball. And it's a very, very good method. It helps as well when you have those double breaks for getting it. At least getting it fairly close anyway. So what we'll do now is I'll go and find another place, just so we have a little bit of a different break. I'll find another little place and I'll show you the other method that I use. Alright, so I've moved around the putting practice green there a little bit, just find a good spot where I can hopefully get a good example of it. Of the other method that I use, and this is using a combination of both the green grids and the grid lines either side. They'd be sort of like a, best way to put it would be a baseline aiming point, I suppose you could say. But what I do with this second method is the second I get onto the green, I am watching the beads. I'm just watching the beads to see where they are at certain points. So I'm initially watching the first. Now you can do it straight away, get it, or you can let them cycle through as often as you want. But I'm basically watching for this particular putt, when they appear from behind this line and they're getting across to this line. What I want to do very first off is I want to watch the first bead that comes from this line and reaches the hole. So in this case, we'll let them cycle through. Okay. Let them cycle through one more time, just so I can put an arrow on screen for you. Right, bam. This grid line here, if I do forget to put an arrow, or this green bead, grid line bead, if I do forget to put an arrow post recording, this one here seemed to be the first one that got in line between the ball and the hole without me adjusting the aim. So basically what I do, as soon as I see the first one, the one right at my golfer's foot is actually pretty much neck and neck with it. But as soon as I see the first one reaching, I'm then immediately watching to see where the other beads are. So now, boom, right, that next bead seems to be about there. Okay, so now what I'll do, as I did mention in the previous method, I do have the right, we're at 13 feet and we're aiming out to about here. I do have the putt preview on, so let's see roughly how accurate I was. That's not bad. It was pretty accurate with that. Some of them you can get pretty much straight away, but it's just letting the beads themselves paint that putt preview, if you get what I mean. It takes a little bit of getting used to get a feel for where they are, but again, yeah, similar area. So I'll just do the putt preview again. It is roughly around about here. Tracking around, and yeah, that's not bad. So we'll take a little practice putt on it. Again, the ball is sunken into the hole. Did I give it the weight? Oh, I think it was a 1% off there. Bear with me, I'll just take another sip of the tea. I absolutely hate drinking cold tea. I should have finished drinking this before I started recording, but that's the two methods that I use. Now, obviously, as I did say, I haven't tested it out yet, and I'm pretty sure Hippie Stein himself is going to be testing it, as it is originally his method. But that original method, for those of you who don't know, was lining the grid lines up like so and counting how many times they fit. A grid line fits between itself and the base of your screen. But with not being able to use the D-pad, I don't know if that one's still possible. I might play around with it myself. Okay, so now we're going to move on. If you actually have any questions regarding those two putting methods, like I mean, there's no right way, there's no wrong way to read a green. Everybody has their own different ways. That's just the two ways that I use personally myself. Which I did actually forget to mention that as well. Once you get used to that second method that I did just a moment ago, you can kind of get a feel. As soon as you see the beads, you can say, okay, yeah. I didn't really touch on it fully anyway, but yeah, it looks like, okay, that's going to break one grid line out, or it's going to break two grid lines out, or if it's a really severe break, it's going to break three out, and so on. So that'd be sort of like the green line method. It's technically two methods that I use, technically three methods that I use, should I say. Bear with me, sorry. Now my phone, excuse me, is vibrating beside me, so I'll just pop that on silent. But what I want to talk about now is getting the weight right in your putts, the power. So as you can see down the bottom, I've enabled the power bar, and what a number of people who are saying that they don't like the putting, or that I've seen a few posts where people are saying that the putting is actually ruined now with the way that they've done it, that it comes back so quick. What you need to do is get it, like if you have never played a TGC game before in your life, say the last golf game you played was one of the Tiger Woods games or something like that, then you shouldn't really have to worry too much about this. But if you've played all the TGC games, or even just TGC 2019, and if you think about it, we've been playing TGC 2019 alone for 2 years before this game came out. So you've got that muscle memory, you've got that mindset of how the putter works, how the putting itself works. What you need to do is reading the greens and even shots off the green, elevation, all that. It's all pretty much exactly the same. But obviously, we've got a very fast backswing now on the putter. And if this were to be 2019, we've got a 26-foot putt up 1 inch. So let me just make sure that's fully reset. Right, marker's at 27. If this were to be TGC 2019, what I would have done was I would have looked at the beads during one of the putting methods that I demonstrated a moment ago. We'll just aim out to here. This is basically just demonstrating the weight. It doesn't matter, we'll just aim straight at the hole. But I would give this pretty much a 2.5 near 3 count. So what that would be, I'll do a practice swing first and show you. That would be 1, 2. Now you can see how powerful that was. How powerful. 1, 2. That's me pulling fully back on the stick and giving it a 2 to 2.5 second count, and striking the ball then. So let's see exactly how far this is going to run past. So 1, 2. And look at how far that ball has gone. Now this is a 144 speed green, so medium speed. And in TGC 2019, that sort of count would have had you at the hole. What you need to do now, if you want the best control for your putts, is whatever method you used, whether you used coming to the back of the foot or anything like that, that all still works. That's all still the same. It's just the speed at which the putter comes back. All you simply need to do is just ever so slightly, because we have the haptic feedback now, your controller vibrates as well. So if you're not using the power bar, just ever so slightly moving the stick back and letting the putter head come back nice and slow. And once you reach, if you don't have the power bar on, once you reach what will be the white zone here on the power bar, you're going to feel a very, very subtle little vibration in your controller. So now let's do that now. Just pulling it back. And there we go. Now it doesn't matter if we don't drain the putt, it's a horrible putt line as well, but as you can see, that was the perfect way. So let's quickly go to just another zone. Tell you what, we'll move back a little bit further from where we are. So that was a 43% power putt. So now it's bumped up to 56 again. Doesn't matter if we don't hit the putt. I just want to demonstrate the weight of the putt. So just ever so slightly. I'm barely even pulling the stick back, maybe a millimeter or two, just enough to initiate the putter moving backwards, and slow enough that I have control on it. So if you do, because if I pull the stick fully back, that line on the power bar is it's shooting up, and it's going to be harder to get yourself in that white zone or feel the vibration for the haptic feedback. So just ever so slightly, just moving that stick back, as I say, barely even a millimeter or two, just to initiate that backswing. You have a much more controlled, thumb slipped off there. You have a much more controlled swing, and watching that line go up if you do use the power bar, or getting to feel where that vibration is. So again, we'll take it now as it is. That's a horrible putt line. If this actually drops, it looks like it might turn a little bit, but again, very nearly did drop. But as you can see, that is the perfect weight. Now what I'll do is, I'll do what I did on the previous one. It's 54 foot putt. Apparently we're perfectly level, so it's the marker's on 54. As I mentioned in the actual reading the breaks, I never adjust the actual marker, so I'll just make sure 100%. Yep, that's fully reset where it should be. I'll do a putting count for what I would have done in TGC 2019 with this particular speed green. So that would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and striking the ball on 5, and I'm off the green. And I actually, to be honest, I actually counted that a little, because I was actually watching the putter coming back. I actually counted a little bit faster. So just let me actually just turn off the power bar, just because that will distract me. I will be consciously just watching for that white zone as well. So power bar, distance control meter, there we go. Right, so we'll just turn that off, and I'll do that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and striking the ball on 5. Hopped over the hole. I completely cut through any little bit of break there and just went straight over the hole. But you get what I mean. It comes back so much faster, and it's just that people have that muscle memory. It's that muscle memory that you have from playing TGC 2019 for basically 2 years, and you're talking 6 years if you've been playing the previous 2 TGC games as well. You just have that. It's just basically a matter of just getting that mindset, that thought process of the previous games out of your head now, because this is a different animal when it comes to putting. The putting is so sensitive, but just barely moving that stick back without the power bar on now, I'm feeling that little, very subtle little vibration, just pulling it back, just doing it a few times and getting a feel for where I need to push forward. I was a little light on that one. As you can see, I'm in the grey there with 54%, but should get pretty close, get to within a couple of feet. See if we can get it this time. As I said, I mean, we're all only human. You're not going to make any putt, or every putt, should I say. Right, we got it in the white again, bit of a horrible swing line, but it should be perfect weight. This could actually drop in. There we go, right, there's a 54 foot putt. But that's basically all that you need to do, is just very, very slightly move that stick back when you're putting. Compared to what you would have done in TGC 2019. As I said, in TGC 2019 myself, I would pull that stick all the way back while I had that count in my head, for it being a 1 count, for a 10 foot, 2 count, for a 20 foot, 3 count, for 30 foot, so on and so forth. That's gone. It's out the window now. I hope that what I've demonstrated here in the video, it's not really a long video, I don't want it to drag on for too long, but I hope this part in particular will help you to get a little bit of a feel for the putting, and not be blasting the putts over the hole. I mean, it does still happen. I've missed countless already in the 9 or so days that I've been playing. I have missed a number of, never mind 54 foot putts, I've missed a number of 4 foot putts where I've actually just been that split second, I've just gone past that little vibration and blasted it over the hole. It's going to happen. We're all only human. We do make mistakes. It's the way that we are. It's the way that we're made. But if you managed to make it this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. If you do take any of what I've shown here in the video away and try them out yourself, if you don't already do them, let me know down in the comments how they get on for you. And if you have any different methods even for reading the break, feel free to drop it down below as well for others to see. And if I don't know of it myself, maybe I'll even try it myself and see how it works out for me. But I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you like the video, make sure to drop it a like if you haven't already, and you do like the content here on the channel, make sure to subscribe. I shall talk to you all in the next one. Until then, take care, have yourselves a good one, and bye for now.